why the Psalms of Sex, you ask? Well, unless you're one of the aliens that drops by occasionally for a visit, all of you listening to me and watching this video got here by sex.
Wow, all right, perfect. What a day to hear that. Oh my God, I'm having my Venus return today, so.
Congratulations.
Perfect. Thank you. What do you know?
Welcome to Between the Notes. We're on another field trip today. Om Namaste. And I have a beautiful, wise guest with me today. Her name is Laura Amazzone. She is also a tantric teacher and practitioner and has been to India many times. You've studied there a lot, right?
And in the Kathmandu Valley of Nepal.
Kathmandu Valley of Nepal.
For short periods, yeah.
So why don't we begin by having you tell us a little bit about the tradition of Tantra that you work with?
Sure. So I work within the Shakta Tantra tradition, and it is one of the earlier, if you think of the Orthodox Hindu tradition, and you have the Vaishnavites and the Shaivites and then the Shaktas. And so the Shaktas understand the divinity as female, ultimately female, while we can also say that she's beyond gender, the divine is beyond gender, but from this point of view, she really is the force that pervades all of existence. And so there's this whole concept called Shakti, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
Of course.
And Shakti means power, and it's specifically the creative, dynamic power that pervades all existence. And it doesn't exist on its own, it exists with the masculine force, the Shiva energy. So there is very much this presence, and there is definitely an honoring of the complementary nature between male and female energies.
Yin and yang.
Exactly.
Yes.
But it's reversed because we think with the yin-yang, the yin is the feminine principle, is the passive, receptive principle. And from this perspective, it's the Shiva quality that is the receptive, the quiescent. He's the foundation upon which the Shakti energy, the yang energy, dances.
So linked to the primal life of all of us. In the world of sound, I was thinking how, like, the ancient yogis and the tantric practitioners, they would no doubt notice that when people were giving childbirth or something, there would be like intense sounds.
Right.
When people were making love, intense sounds.
Right.
When they wanted to attract a mate, they sing, or there's all of these ways that sound is so primal to our essence.
Yes.
And I know that there is a branch of Nada Yoga, which is the yoga of sound, that is actually the tantric branch. And where mantras and bija mantras and all kinds of chants are used. And can you talk to us a little bit about how those are
how they're
part of the
used.
tantric tradition?
Absolutely. So one thing that I think is important to begin with is that sound, this vibration. It's the mother that brings through the vibration the world into being, and so the energy of sound brings things into form, helps things to manifest.
It's a creative power.
It's a creative power, and so the goddess. There is a goddess, of course, that represents this power, that is the embodiment of this power, and it's the mother Saraswati. So she's a goddess of creativity, she's a goddess of sound, of music, of learning, of the arts. We would say that it is the grace of Saraswati that's even coming through me. She's dancing off my tongue to share this information. She's the power to comprehend. For us having this conversation, anyone who's listening, it's all her. And so this essence, this vibratory essence, that is the mother. And the mantras, particularly in the tantric tradition, there's these bija mantras, these seed mantras. And so a bija mantra for Saraswati would be Aim. And this isn't just something arbitrary, this is something that the ancients studied and really experienced within their being and understood that this vibration is the divine. It's not just sound, it's an expression of the divine. So these mantras, when we recite these mantras in any sort of combination, they may have, other bijas connected to them. They have the power to shift consciousness. So they shift our consciousness, and they also, that can translate into shifting the form, physical form within us and around us. And so I like to think of these seeds, these bijas, as portals of consciousness. Om Aim Saraswatiye Namaha. Om Aim Saraswatiye Namaha. Om Aim Saraswatiye Namaha. Or just Aim. And so the power is through the sound, and then also eventually you take it internally. And so that just becomes something that is constant in your consciousness.
Right.
And so the subtle vibration of that too is still
holding the frequency in your consciousness, even if you're not verbally, outwardly expressing.
It's not necessary.
Right.
It's about the inner and the outer, and that we in our bodies, from this perspective, the tantric perspective, classical tantric, and specifically within the Shakti tradition, that this body is a temple. And so by reciting these mantras too, we are tuning in and attuning our own energies with these energies of the cosmos, of the divinity.
Great. Yes.